Hey everyone, this is a segmented run I made of Mega Man Legends to try to see what the theoretical human limit can be when speedrunning this game. And I did this with emulator with save states, just so we're not fiddling around with data, wasting tons of time saving. And so that it gives me many opportunities to really optimize everything as best as I can. Now, this is more or less version 1 of this sort of run, because there's still strategies I didn't quite implement yet, or there's some things that didn't quite go as well as I would like that are it's really hard to fix. I just pretty much just wanted to get this project done to begin with, so there's probably gonna be another version somewhere down the line that'll be faster than this, but this is like a good ballpark of what is humanly possible. So this is done on Duckstation emulator. It's very good. If you're still using EPSXE, please upgrade. That's an old piece of junk. This is so much better. And yeah, for strategies and things of that nature, I'll be talking about them as we go on. So yeah, and I'm using my splits on the right side for my emulator PB, 42:27 in-game time with 50:12 RTA. The world record at the time of this recording is held by Prop with a 42:16 in-game time and a 49:59 RTA. So pretty much keep that in mind, and you'll see how much faster this run will be compared to both my PB and the record. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this moving. Oh, hang on a second. There we go. Ignore that. Alright, so if you're not too familiar with the speedrun, pretty much the thing you need to know is if you go diagonally, you go fast. So at all times, or at least whenever possible and where it saves time, you want to run diagonally like this. Cut your corners and all that stuff. Just run diagonally. Same thing with skating. You want to go diagonally. It's much faster. Now, there's not a whole lot going on in this intro split other than just trying to optimize, you know, my angle lines, my movement angles, my jump timings and stuff of that nature. Now the first real trick coming up is the electrical generators for the barrier. You want to shoot down the left one so you don't waste time kicking it, and then you're already moving to the one on the right to kick that one. Now those 3 shots when doing that jump is very, very hard. On top of that kick timing right there, that one's really nice. That kick is really precise and looks really cool, but you want to shoot down that left generator with your buster so you're already moving to kick the other one instead of kicking one and then moving to the other one. And doing those 3 shots on the jump is very, very tough because you have to pretty much start shooting before you jump. So it's really tricky. So here's the first boss, Hammer Doll, whatever you call him. You want to do the stutter shooting trick with your buster. And I'm pretty much just trying to optimize it so I'm always shooting whenever the cooldown's over. So here's the first split.
Big penis.
It's a 133. That is obscenely fast. It's a low 133 even. But yeah, it's very fast. Like I've already messed with the RTA comparison before recording this video, and I'll just tell you, it's nutty fast. So not a whole lot going on here. I'm just trying to optimize my cutscene skip timings and such. And again, with movement lines. Now, something I'll touch on that you might hear on occasion throughout this run is that because I'm using save states and such, you're probably going to hear the random sound effects that come up on certain room transitions, because when you load save states, you'll just get like a holdover sound effect that you didn't really want to be there, but it's there. And sometimes the audio is going to get crackly because I was using the OBS thing where you get to direct record audio sources instead of hearing your desktop audio, because, well, I want to have some things playing in the background so I don't go insane trying to make this thing. But unfortunately it came with the side effect of my audio sometimes getting crackly, so you have to bear with that. Anyway, coming up here, we're going to save the Junk Shop Man. We call this place Snake Pit, and this is one of the early game struggles that gets us sometimes at high level speedruns. Mainly because the worms, the snakes, whatever they're called, their movement is random. So I'm trying to manipulate RNG with the buster shots there to try and get them into a position that allows me to kill them quickly. And this was the best I was able to come up with. Still very fast, it's just, it was just slightly awkward, really. And the unfortunate thing with that manipulation is that now I got unlucky and those guys were in the way on all those corners.
Big penis.
333. Another insanely fast split. What happens when you get really, really good snake patterns like that? Like a 334 has been done before. 335s to 337s are not uncommon. But a 333, yeah, get out of here. So, not a whole lot's going to go on from here until the boss rush begins. So the only other thing I'm really going to touch on is how I manipulate how I manipulate RNG. And as you probably might have, figured out, is that I use the buster shots to manipulate RNG. And the reason why that is whenever you shoot something to generate that hit spark, same with kicking, that hit spark calls RNG. Like every time you shoot the wall, that spark is going to look different. So you use the sparks to manipulate RNG. Use your save state to know what RNG you're getting. Reload the save state, shoot somewhere, and then see what your result's going to be. And that's pretty much how you manipulate RNG in this game in a save state, practice, or tasking setting. So we're going to shop here first. I'm going to do this quick skip here on these kids. Boom. I wouldn't say it's the absolute fastest route, but it's the easiest one to do quickly. So that's the one I take for this run here. So yeah, about manipulating RNG, the thing that's going to come up in this run... Oh, speaking of RNG, the police car turned and got in my way. That's unlucky. The thing about manipulating RNG is that there's some situations where I kind of just can't help what I get. So like, for example, the City Hall section coming up fairly soon, I tried many different manipulations of RNG, including delaying cutscene skips, and I just could not get any good patterns out of all the ground bots. So the RNG I get in this run is very run-of-the-mill, something very basic you'll see in a lot of high-level runs. I tried to manipulate good patterns, but I just could not get anything, so... In this run, I'm not going to actually gold that split, because my gold split is actually insanely good. I got insanely good luck. But in this run, it's not going to be that much slower, all things considered. Which means that in this run, or that in a future run, I should be able to save a lot more time if I can get good RNG on that section. So here's a little blunder I made. It didn't lose me any time, it's just something silly. I was supposed to equip the buster part much sooner than I bought from the shop, so I just realized, wait a minute, I need to put it on, so I put it on here. Ideally, I'll put it on somewhere else so it doesn't really mess with me trying to do movement. And by the way, if you unpause with start, it lets you unpause around 5 frames faster than with your cancel button, which is strange, but that's how the game is. Alright, so here's the first real boss rush. I'll be dealing with the Bloom Bears first. And I add in some extra shots before I do the roll to grab the money and the key because I'm trying to manipulate City Hall RNG. And like I said, I couldn't get anything, so it's working with what I get. So we kill the blue one ASAP. We're gonna roll to grab all the money and get the key all at the same time. Very nice. And here's the fight with Feldinut. It's a mistranslation. It's supposed to be Ferdinand, but Tron says Feldinut, so it's Feldinut. Yeah, you get behind the leg, spam mines. That was a good position, good angle, so the damage is really nice. The audio got crackly. I tried to buster manipulate there too, and sadly, I can only do so much. Now, with City Hall here, I'm happy with the execution of this strategy, because this is not a strategy I'll be doing in runs yet. It's insanely difficult. I'm going to be killing these flying guys very quickly. I'm trying to add in stutter shots wherever possible, because normally we don't do that. So the pink one's already down. The yellow one's going to go down right here. 2 volleys, 1, 2. Back up, the blue one's dead next. Boom, there he is. So this yellow guy right here, I've had him on City Hall itself instead of way over here. Same with the other two. I've had everyone on City Hall pretty much. So this is very, very run-of-the-mill RNG. I'm having to chase people down, which would probably save me 10-ish seconds if I can get some really good RNG. But for the sake of finishing this project, I decided to just take the basic RNG that I got here. And the Zenny drops from him was good enough. It could have been better, but I really did not want to go insane trying to make this thing. So I shot some buster shots there to manipulate Bonbon into not doing missiles first, to get him caught on the lamppost. If you're used to seeing speedruns, this is nothing new, but yeah.
Big.
So I still saved 6 to 7 seconds with that very basic RNG. Now, if my RNG was super good, you can imagine how fast that would have been. Like, 2 people have gotten a sub 9-minute split there. That was me and Prop. I got the first one at 8:59, and I think he has an 8:58. This was still faster than his best with basic RNG. Me and Prop could not get a sub 9 without super good RNG. So that kind of tells you how fast this run actually is. So, again, I'm working with what I can deal with without losing my sanity. So I think a future version of this run, I'll try to get something better. It probably still won't be optimal unless I want this thing to take over a year to make, but yeah, that's just how it is. Basic RNG, but with very, very good execution. So with Marwolf coming up, you want him to have the first attack, but like before you get up on his back, you want the first one that he does to not be a Cerbite that drops a bomb. You want it to be the flying bombs instead. That saves you around 2 seconds. So I had to do that buster manipulation just to get him to cooperate. And I'm going to purposely do some more manipulation there, and purposely take damage. I want to get to instant red bar right here for something coming up. If you know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, you'll see. So I'm going to destroy this tank here. The Zenny drops were not good at all, but I'm already pulling my hair out trying to manipulate him into giving me the pattern I want. So when you're up on his back here, you want the Cerbot coming out, and that gives you enough time to actually destroy him in one cycle. Otherwise, yeah. Now on this tank, I also get bad Zenny drops here as well. It's unfortunate, but I didn't want to pull my hair out. So there's another ledge. There's another ledge nearby that has another tank on it. A jump is technically possible to reach that tank, but your time is extremely limited, and that jump is insanely precise. I've not gotten it in practice yet. But maybe in a future run, I'll try to implement that jump. And if I can get to that tank and destroy it in time, that can net me some more Zenny during this time where you're waiting for Marwolf to blow up. And the reason why that Zenny drops matter is because in the ruins coming up, you want to destroy a couple of the nests to get Zenny from them. But if you're really lucky on your Zenny drops, you can skip one of them. And I don't do that in this run, but maybe in a future run, if I can manipulate enough Zenny drops to possibly make that happen, then we'll try and make it happen. But anyway, so we're heading to the next ruins. And if you're familiar with the speedrun, nothing's really going to be different. But if you're not, well, we're pretty much going to be skipping the auto-scroller where Roll is following you in the support car, and you have to destroy the tanks, and then she rams the fence. We're going to be skipping that entirely. But first, you have to talk to this lady in front of the cave. She is a story flag trigger. Because otherwise, if you get into the ruins early like we're going to do here, it doesn't function properly. You have to talk to her first. So we're going to get in there with a pretty cool method. We're going to swap to our kick. The kick is a very useful weapon for non-combat reasons. So I shot a buster shot there to get the little enemies coming up to get away from me. So we kick that guy, and we fly out of bounds. Because that specific spot in the wall has an opening. No other spot in the game has that, and we're able to take advantage of it. So we got down here early without needing to jump springs or anything. Search this hole for 9,000 Zenny. Probably the biggest chunk of Zenny in the game we're going to get until late game. So here's a neat jump I like doing on occasion. Jump from here onto the elevator panel. and it's really swag. It's hard to do because you just can't see and there's no good visual cues, but it's just fun to do sometimes. So here's something I had to do a lot of manipulation for. So I'm going to shoot some shots here to try and manipulate a general good Zenny drop from this nest here. Big jump straight across the gap. I'll explain big jumps later. But I kicked that nest frame perfectly and paused so I could store the kick momentum. And I stood back instead of insta-grabbing the Zenny. Because you can stand inside it and insta-grab all the Zenny, but you pick up HP, and we don't want HP right now. So I stored my kick momentum. I grabbed some Zenny so that I have enough to not worry about the late game. And I'm in this room with no HP for one specific reason. We're going to do what's called Death Warp. So we're in here with 0 HP. We're going to activate the button, run back here. I'm going to take a lethal hit and land on the chest as it's falling down. This will cancel Mega Man's death animation. It'll cancel a death sequence just like that. Now, the game thinks I'm dead, but I have control. So what this means is that when you try to go through any doors, it just won't open. All it does is just toggle things on and off, like enemies, chests, and such. So I go up to that door to set my warp point. Now I need to get enough HP back to put my HP value in the positive range instead of negative. There's the big HP drop, boom, warped up to that door. That saved that entire trip of going back up through the ice room, and that saves around 12 to 15 seconds, give or take. But it's insanely difficult with tons of RNG involved. So, that trick, only one person has done it in runs, and I'm only doing it here because it's optimal, and it's a segmented run, so I might as well go for it. That trick is stupid difficult. So now that I have some HP, and I need more Zenny, we're going to blow up this nest here, get the insta-grab, and that's all the health we're going to get. Big jump, by the way. That's all the health we're going to get all the way up until we fight Bruno. It's scary, but gotta do what you gotta do. So after this split, I'll explain what a big jump is, because it's something very cool, very interesting, and it's kind of tough. So here we go, leaving Cardin.
Big penis.
Bam! Look how much time save there is from doing Death Warp, on top of the big jumps and very good movement. So what's a big jump? So when you jump and you let go of your jump button, being X or cross, whatever, you let go of it on one specific frame, and it's just around the peak of your jump. When you let go of it on that frame, you're in the air for a handful of frames longer, and that lets you cross a couple of huge gaps in Cardin there. And I did 2 of them, which means I don't have to do a ledge grab in order to get up to finish the jump, to cross the gap. So the big jumps there saved me around 2 seconds, roughly. Whereas you can do big jumps in other places, but it's really tough to say if they save any time. Because your landing lag kind of cancels most of the gain from being in the air for longer, because your airspeed is faster than your ground speed. But upon recent further testing, it does not actually save time if you're doing it just to do it. Your landing lag cancels it out. You're only going to go even if you keep big jumping. So it's only worth doing a big jump in areas where a jump is mandatory, and if you have an extra bit of height from whatever jump you're doing to be in the air even longer. So that situation on top of just really big gap jumps are the only times big jumps are actually worth doing. So we put on the buster parts in the springs as soon as we came in, called roll, and that lets us teleport across the room instead of having to run all the way here to the boathouse. We're going to fix the boat, get on the boat, and the auto-scroller you cannot speed up. It's unfortunate, but as a speedrunner who grinds the heck out of this game, I find it to be... I don't find it to be a bad section of the run, because it gives my hands time to rest. Because when you're grinding runs for this game, and you're on the default control scheme, you're holding diagonal for minutes straight on the D-pad. So, whenever I get to this point in the run, I feel good, because my thumb gets to rest, and I get to play the game longer. So, yeah, the auto-scroller, you can't speed anything up. The most I really did here for the sake of a segmented run was just make sure my boat takes no damage up until the boss fight starts. Which ain't that hard to do, just memorize spawns and look out for torpedoes. So the shopping trip, I glossed over that while talking about big jumps and such. What I bought there was the hyper cartridge, which lets you restore your special weapon ammo, and we're going to hold that all the way to Juno. We're not going to use it before then. And the parts I bought were the laser, Power Razor Omega, Range Booster Omega, and the Sniper Unit. So the laser gives you 4 attack, very good. Same with the Power Razor Omega, 3 attack, very good. You just put those two together, you already have max attack this early in the game, so it's very nice. That's not the combo I'm using, but I'm just saying. And then Range Booster, yep. Sniper Unit, the Sniper Unit is the MVP of this whole run. It gives you 1 energy and 2 range. And energy is a really underrated stat. It's a very, very, very good stat, especially if you know how to stutter shoot and you know what ranges of enemies you're dealing with. Like, for example, if most of the enemies in the game are not that far away from you to where you always need to have high range on your buster. So when you prioritize energy and attack on top of stutter shooting, your DPS is crazy good. So the Sniper Unit helps us out in that case because we have an extra shot on our volley to just stutter shoot with, and that massively increases your DPS. And on top of that, gives us a couple of range to work with for anything that's not right in front of us. So the Sniper Unit is the MVP buster part, trust me. It's very good. So let's see, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I should touch on meantime during this auto-score section? Not a whole lot really, other than just, this run took me around a week or so to make if you put together all the time I put towards actually making it. And it was fun to work on. It's just some of the RNG sections were a little frustrating because I have to load a previous save state, manipulate some buster shots, and then see what happens on my next save state. And for City Hall in particular, I had to pretty much reserve 3 or 4 save states for it. Like, I have the save state before fighting Bloom Bears to manipulate RNG and try to actually do that fight correctly. And then I have the Feldinot save state. Same story. I want to be able to manipulate RNG and do that fight correctly. And then I have my City Hall start save state just to see what the RNG I get is. And then if the RNG is not good, I have to go back to one of my previous save states for Bloom Bears or Feldinot, do the fight again, and add in more buster add in more buster shots or subtract some, and see what my RNG is after grinding out Feldinot again, and then seeing what I get. So, some RNG sections of this run I really could not help. My only solution is to just start an entirely new run from a clean slate with a different RNG seed and see what else I can manipulate. Which means I have to go through Snake Pit again, go through the grind of trying to see what RNG I can get from City Hall, and then that's excluding the late game RNG sections I'll talk about when we get to them. So yeah, there's some things in this run that were quite a pain to make, but this here version 1 is pretty much just what kind of a time can we really get if I just try to finish this thing? And I think the time I get is really good, still pretty satisfying, but I can still push it. It just depends on how much of my sanity I want to flush down the toilet, basically. So, yep, we're at the end of the auto-scroller here, and the boss fight's going to begin. I'll drink some water, hang on. Okay. So this is a very infamous boss fight in the speedrun scene. It's an auto-scroller boss, and you can save revolutions around the boss depending on how fast you destroy all 4 pieces of it. And if you fail to do that in enough time, then you have to wait an entire revolution all the way around the boss before the core spawns, and then you can finally finish it off. If you fail to save that cycle, you lose around 20-ish seconds. I don't remember how many it is. It's like 22, 23. So right here, throw 4 mines and then hold square. hold your buster button. And this is like a buffer setup because we have to use a setup like this to give us a consistent timing. And we need a consistent timing because the boss's arms move at a consistent, pace, timing, everything. Everything about it is consistent. The problem is that you're fighting the auto aim. If you played this game before, you know that this game has auto aim on the buster. If you're standing right in front of an enemy and then there's another enemy to your side, and you turn slightly, well, then your shots will just like curve over there to hit that enemy. It's the auto aim in this game. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. In the case of this boss fight, it's a curse. So I'm specifically placing my shots in a way that makes the auto aim cooperate with me well enough to land all these shots. Now, for the sake of the segmented run, I did my no-miss version of it. You can miss a surprising number of shots and still make the cycle, but since this is a segmented run, I wanted to go all out. So I don't miss a single shot until all 4 parts are dead. Clean. Beautiful. So the core doesn't spawn until right now, roughly. So if you didn't destroy all 4 parts until that point, the core will not spawn. You have to go all the way around again. So yeah, this boss is very, very tough. It takes many, many hours of practice to save that 20 seconds because you're fighting the auto aim. You're trying to place your shots consistently in a way that fights back at the auto aim and still, actually lands your dang shots, man. It's tough. So here we are in Lake June. June? I think it's June, whatever. Lake June. And there's a skip we do in here. And then there's also a trick that can be done in TAS because humans have not yet done it. And I don't do it in this run because no human has done it. I'm not going to grind it out. So in this place we're going to be skipping the boss. Yes, you can do that. You want to know how? Well, pay attention. So, remember how in Cardin I stored my kick momentum when I kicked that nest and paused frame perfectly? When you pause frame perfectly and swap your weapons, then you store the momentum on your kick. So the next time that you can kick nothing, it's like kick thin air, you get pushed backwards as if you did kick something. And that backwards momentum is faster than like running or something. Faster than running, jumping, whatever. It's almost as fast as the skates. And what we're gonna do is we're going to get as close to this boss trigger as possible, and then set up our position and angle in a way that lets us go from one frame being behind the trigger and the next frame being ahead of the trigger. And that kick pushback speed is good enough to make that happen. Now you can do the same trick with the skates. You can do it blindfolded even because it's that easy. But in a normal mode run, we do not get the skates this early. Like, we only just picked up the second skate part while we're here. It is slower to go back and make the skates and come back and skate through this place. It is slower to do that, so... yeah, so we gotta skip the boss with a very funky method. So I'm putting the kick back on, and I'm getting ready. And because of how precise the setup is, I'm not going diagonally here in this room. Because the setup is just that precise, and if I go in here moving diagonally, my angle and my position is going to be inconsistent, and we do not want any inconsistencies when trying to skip this boss. Jump back, by the way. Pretty cool. So here's the setup. You want to open the door, jump, land, step back for 2 frames, look at that specific angle, and then kick, and you're through. The boss fight does not start. I probably could have YOLO'd that a little harder and saved some more frames, but at this point in the run, I was just worried about finishing it instead of trying to be totally optimal. Like, if we're going for 100% optimal strats and everything, then we'll save that for a task. This is just for, human theoreticals. So I'm not sure if this will actually gold split or not, because there's nothing special going on in here compared to any other regular speedrun. Just run-of-the-mill things, just trying to do it clean, I guess. So I don't know if this will gold split or not, but either way, it should still be, should still be nice. And coming up is a neat little trick with the elevator. And what happens is it's going to be going up without us. Saves us having to jump on top of it. Boom. Here's a split.
Big penis.
Cool. Still gold. That's nice. So that elevator trick is pretty cool. What you want to do is get behind it, hold circle while you're not moving. You have to be stopped first. And this grabs the trigger. If you're holding circle, then you can't move. You're just standing there. Like, you can try to move and it won't let you move. So you hold circle, hold R2, then you let go of circle, and you're still in your, your aiming mode. And then as you let go of R2, you want to quick turn backwards and spam circle so you can interact with the panel from the other side. And that's how it works. They call that like phantom grabbing, where you can grab a trigger on something that's supposed to be activated, but you grab the trigger from the wrong side and then do some other kind of movement and activate it from a different spot. That particular phantom grab just saves us from having to jump on top of the panel, on top of the elevator, which saves around a second. I got the grand grenades. Probably the best weapon in the game for a speedrun at least. Talking to Gramps, make sure you say no to Gramps both times. So for anyone not familiar with the speedrun, we get the grand grenade because it's the weapon that can blow up the ceiling in the enclosure coming up, because there's a mandatory ceiling you have to blow up, and there's 3 weapons that can do it. And the one that's the least out of the way is the grand grenade. It's right there in the flutter. The Powered Buster works, but that's far away. It's a little bit before Marlwolf in that same area. And then the other one is the Active Buster. The problem, though, is that you get it in the dungeon we're trying to go to, so it loses you time to go get it, come back, and then use it. So, Grand Grenade. And the other reason why it's so good in a speedrun is because it's relatively cheap to upgrade compared to any other of the top-tier late-game special weapons. And we're going to get a lot of money all at once. So right here, I'm going to do aim storage. So when you're moving your camera around and you lose control, then the next time you try to aim, your aim speed will be much faster. And since you have to look upward to throw the grenade at the ceiling, that's going to save some frames. So my third empty buster slot goes to the Power Razor Omega. So I have the same setup I was using for the boat section, but now my attack is maxed. That's going to be our late game setup for the remainder of the run, but we do swap our buster around one more time to deal with the Gesell shaft. Here's some door swag, by the way. That's the only door you can do that to in the whole game, and only on that particular visit. You try to do it after you've been to this place, it's not going to work. So Close the Ruins, Subgate, whatever. There's nothing special going on here either. Just going from point A to point B. The only 2 things to note besides the aim storage thing is that there's this thing we call rock launch. It's where you let go of forward when you're skating, and you let go of forward right before you fall off a ledge right here. And see how far forward I went, how fast I went going off of that ledge? For some reason, letting go of forward just before you fall off of a ledge just makes you go zooming. So it's some neat tech that was found recently. And it's going to get used 2 times, I think, in this place, and hardly anywhere else. If you're running easy mode, where you start with the skates, you can use it plenty more times. And then the other thing to note is the boss coming up, Karumuna Bash, how there's 3 of them. And I have to manipulate their pattern with some RNG, with buster shots, manipulate the RNG. Because as you're traveling through the room to do a specific strat, they can either do flame breath or they can leap at you. And the fastest pattern is for them to leap at me. Or sorry, flame breath. Sorry. Flame breath is faster. So I look up for the grenade. I'm shooting some buster shots here to try to get them to do the correct pattern. Because like when they leap at you, it loses time, and I had to shoot so many buster shots before they finally cooperated. So the strat I'm going to use, you you kind of get them stuck. You do some AI abuse because they're they're not very smart. We're gonna go in front of the door, up there. Double flame breath. So you stand on this line. They don't know what to do. You throw 2 grenades, wait for them to get up, throw 1 more, and they're dead. So for some reason, they don't attack you when they're off screen, but when you're that specific distance away from a wall, they just run side to side trying to turn, but then they never turn. If you step back further, with a rock launch by the way, if you step back further, then they start to turn, but if you step too far forward, they actually attack you. So I found that specific distance on accident because I was trying to fill around with some really dumb strategy ideas I had. Then when I just stood there just being like, oh, this strategy's not going to work, I stood there and noticed they're stuck on the door. So it turns out I found a strategy that's slightly faster, but also lets you see what the boss is doing. Because beforehand, we would just look straight up. We would be against the door looking straight up, and we could not see them, but we could hear when they're close by. So instead of using an audio cue that's kind of vague, you now get to actually see them when they're grouped up, and then you can finally throw your grenades. So, gotta love strategies that you find on accident that end up being just fantastic. We're at the end of closer here, main gate's activated, and I get a nice jump on the elevator coming up here. And there's some things where you can quick turn and you can keep circle held and it'll still activate the trigger, like this elevator here. During that quick turn I kept circle held and it activated at frame 1, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. So here's the split.
Big penis.
Nice, another 4 seconds. 3.5 seconds. Alright, so here's another section of the run where I tried to manipulate RNG to the best of my ability and I just could not get anything. So the boss I'm talking about is the Fockerwolf or Fockwolf. I don't know what the accurate translation is. I think it's Fockwolf, and I don't remember what the game itself calls it, but whatever. And that's the RNG boss we're worried about. And the thing that makes this even worse is that after I'm done with these ships here, they go down in 6 max attack buster shots. So I can only manipulate RNG during this section. If I try to manipulate RNG during the Guzzle Shaft, it doesn't work. I don't know why that is. So I have to manipulate RNG here, make a save state, see if I can do Guzzle Shaft well, make another save state for Fockerwolf, and then see what kind of patterns I can get. And if I can't get anything good, I go back to that save state with the mini ships, manipulate RNG again, get back to Fockwolf, and see what else I can get. So I don't get the god tier pattern that I've gotten in runs a couple times, because the game was just not letting me have it. I can only do so much, sadly. So this is going to be another split where I don't get a gold, but it should still save time, I think. Yep, so normally you would think, shoot some buster shots here, manipulate RNG, you have time. Well, I tried. It didn't work. So, the RNG manipulation I tried to do on this boss had to come from the mini ship fight. So she flies away, and what I'm going to do is look up high, throw a grenade, and I should eat the rest of the health bar. That was one of the faster fights I got, considering the RNG I was getting, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's another RNG section that could have been faster, but the game was just not letting me have it. And right there during that black screen, loading this hallway here, I held left, and it retained my position, so that when I'm done talking to Gramps, I can just, like, save around half a step running left to the door. It holds your position, but your angle's always going to get shifted to look towards Gramps, but your position it stays, which is pretty nice. So we're going here to the main gate, and we're going to fight Bruno. Now, with some recent labbing done by myself and the community, we found the fastest way to kill Bruno, but that means he is the hardest boss to kill quickly. It used to be Balkan, or whatever the lake boss is, the purple frog. And then there was also Juno, but Bruno is now the hardest. And the entire reason is because of grenades. Yeah, I know I praise the grenades a whole lot, but the reason is because he's moving as you're throwing grenades at him, and the explosions from the grenades are their damage over time. So when he's moving away from you, he's also moving away from the explosions, which reduces your DPS. So I have to use 2 save states, one to start the fight off to get some really good, really tough shots to land with my buster, and as soon as I land from a jump, I do another save state where I'm just trying to get some more difficult buster shots, and then I'm trying to land my grenades in a angle, position, and timing that gives me the best DPS possible. Because I want the grenades to be landing on his weak spot as he's finishing a step, so he's not moving. But that's tough to do. So 3 shots there on the spine, that's really tough. I tried to go for 3 there, but whatever. It turns out my grenade damage here was so good I did not need that 3rd shot on that jump up. So for some reason, my grenade damage here is so good, and I can't quite understand why. So I'm going to kill him in the middle of him turning around after the shot here. Boom. That is probably the hardest fight to do quickly. Like, that quickly, at least. Very, very difficult.
Big penis.
I've not done it in runs. We've only done it with save states in practice. It's insanely difficult, you have no idea. All because of the inconsistency of your grenade damage. It's just all about landing the grenades on him and having him be inside of the explosions for as long as possible. And then the thing that adds on just a little bit of extra pain is making sure I'm directing that second green orb he fires near the end to blow up that piece of the fence. Standing in the air, by the way. Because when we make it back there, we have to have that piece of fence gone so we can get to the sub-city quicker. So if you're not familiar with the speedrun, you're probably like, why are you coming back here? You're doing a side quest. Isn't that slow? No, not at all. You know why? Grenades. I've been talking about them for a while, haven't I? Well, we're going to do the bank robbery side quest, and we're going to be the robbers and steal that chunk of that trunk full of cash. We're not going to give it back. If you do that, you get 20,000 zenny. But if you steal it, you get 200,000 zenny. And we're going to dump all of that in the grand grenades. 1 upgrade to the attack maxes it out. The damage becomes absurd. You upgrade energy once, and then range twice, so it goes really far. And we already have the thing maxed out aside from just 1 more energy upgrade, but we don't need it. So you cram your face against the door of the car. It takes damage faster than shooting it because text boxes. It's a complicated way that the health bar is calculated. Also, that was some neat car surfing, if I do say so myself. So we take the money, and we go through this door because there's a sub-city right here. So the routing just works out. But we don't upgrade the grenades yet, because this boss right here does not need it. Because he's the damage per cycle is limited. You cannot exceed it. So we just use our buster the whole time. And he has a coin flip. He can go left or right. We want him to go right. So the shots I fired just coincidentally manipulated him to go right. It did take a handful of times to make him not go left, but it is what it is. So I'm trying to shoot 4 shots per cycle, like that. And for some reason, on this version of the game, or any version of the game that's not 64, his health bar is inconsistent. Or consistently inconsistent, we'll put it that way. It always works the same way in a speedrun because we get there at the same timing every time. But for some reason, the first couple sections of his body, they can take up to 4 hits. And then there's like 2 cycles that take 1 hit, like right here. 64 version does not have that. It's always 3 hits per cycle. Now, for some reason, because of those first shot cycles, like those 1-shot cycles, the following ones can take up to 4 hits. So we try to do 2 4-hit cycles so that we total up to 9 shots per body segment. And I don't know if I explained it that well. I'm trying hard to explain something that's complicated, but each body segment takes 9 hits. And for the 2 body segments that take 1 shot and then he closes up, you do 2 4-hit cycles to line it back up. Because otherwise, if you do 3 shots per cycle, you're going to get an extra cycle every time. So it's like the fastest pattern is 1-4-4, but if you do the, hang on.
Big penis.
I split. So if you do 1-4-4, that's optimal. But if you try to do 1, 3, 3, you'll still have like 1 or 2 shots left over for another cycle, and you know that's slow. So you want to do 4 hits, whatever. I'm done explaining it. It's complicated. Shoot him 4 times, and you know destroy that segment faster. It's annoying. So we upgraded our grand grenades, and from here on out, all the enemies we're gonna throw grenades at, they go down in 1 or 2 hits, because it's that strong. Now, this section here has RNG, and I really had no manipulation opportunities, so this was my first try at this, and the RNG I got was surprisingly good still. So I throw 1 at this guy, 2 at him, and the splash damage will kill both of them. 2 at him, and this pink dude over here with the claws, he wasn't running away, which is what I want, because sometimes they can just go wandering off to wherever. He came right to me, so that's very nice. 1, 2, dead, and it's already over. Grand grenades are very, very strong. So that wasn't optimal pattern. That was not the best RNG, but that was still really good. Still very, very good. And boom.
Big penis.
Very nice. Now the old city, sub-city, the RNG there isn't the best, but it was workable. Like, it wasn't terrible or anything. And it's a similar situation where I have no buster manipulation opportunities. Like, I have to skate from one point to another, and I'm not in any combat areas to shoot any shots before I go in. So, I have to work with what I'm given here for this particular sub-city. And this one's a lot of fun. It's difficult, takes practice, because there's some really nice throws you can do with the grand grenades to reach some targets that are far away. So this dude came out to play. That's not bad. It's pretty good. And that walker in the middle, I get him later. Don't worry about it. Take care of him. So I shoot this guy with buster shots because I'm trying to save a grenade for Juno. Because we're not going to talk to Data before we get to Juno. Data gives you a bunch of text boxes and that wastes time. So we're going to try to spare a grenade here to hold on to it for Juno. And then another high throw here. Finish off that antenna. And that was fairly good. But considering the RNG I was given here, I didn't really try to optimize it that hard. If I was working with better RNG, I probably would have tried much harder to get some more YOLO stuff in there.
Big.
So yeah, another RNG segment, didn't save, didn't get a gold split, but it was still a time save. Can't complain there. Alright, Juno. He has gone through some labbing and strategy revisions as of late. And I'm going to be doing a strat on him that I would not do on runs because it's relying on him to do one specific attack at the start. And like I need the pattern to go exactly as I get here in this run. And because of how RNG heavy that fight is, that is not a strategy you want to do in a real run. But otherwise, there's been other strategies we've been labbing lately that still save time, still cuts out him doing another attack. But the strategy I do here is very YOLO, very dependent on a very specific pattern of attacks he gives me. So, the doors, yep, you can sneak in some little jumps here to save frames. And my only opportunity to manipulate RNG for Juno is in the room with the refractor. It's like, sure, I could manipulate before this part right here, but then it means I have to keep doing this movement over and over again when I can just make the same state right here at this door. And then try to just... This room right here is my one manipulation opportunity. Shoot that one shot, see what Juno gives me, and work with it. And turns out that one shot is all I needed. I'm glad I did not have to reload that multiple times and shoot like 2, 3, or even 4 shots. So, anyway, Data gives you text boxes. Skip them because we don't want text boxes. That's slow. So I'm going to throw a grenade at the start, shoot a buster shot, throw another one. So it's 2 grenades before he even does anything. Intentionally get hit so we can throw another grenade, throw more grenades at him while he's above us, and this should finish this off. Boom. Alright, here's Juno 2. Normally, in a run, we start the fight off with buster shots, but for some reason when I did that, I was getting a very terrible pattern, but if I threw a nade at the start, I got this very good pattern. Like, you want him to always do that fireball attack. And even though this isn't the fireball right here, that's still very, very good. That was still an insanely fast pattern from him just overall for both fights. And that should still gold the split by a mile. Because that was such a YOLO Juno 1, and that Juno 2 pattern was just sick. And boom. A whole minute and 20 seconds faster than my PB. That is crazy fast. Now, the RTA isn't going to quite line up 100%, because this is made from a recording, like many recordings of different segments just spliced together in a video editor. So I probably missed a number of frames when stitching it together, so the RTA doesn't quite line up, but it's very close still. So yeah, that was a very fast time. And I can still push it a little bit further, as you saw from some of the RNG segments I got. Like City Hall, I can probably cut off close to 10 seconds there. Focke-Wulf, I can probably cut off another 3 to 4 seconds there from getting a better pattern. I forget what else there is that could help speed it up, but those were the main choke points that was eating time away from me. So this can still go further, but I did not want to rip my hair out. And again, there was also the whole Zenny manipulation to try and skip one of the 2 nests I blew up in Cardin. So yeah, this can still go further, but this is version 1. I just wanted to see what I can get for a project like this. So maybe in the future, some point soon maybe, I'll work on another one and see how far I can push my sanity to go for something even faster. And maybe somewhere down the road I'll try to do one for Tron Bonne and Legends too, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom through the credits here to get to our in-game time. Babu. So as you might be able to guess from that RTA comparison, this is not going to be a 40 in-game time, but it's still going to be a very low 41. Oops. 4109. Very fast. And I'm mixing up my keys here. Whatever. Anyway, that's the end of the run. 4109. Clearly, I can still push that to somewhere around a 40. Like a 45x. Maybe if things go absolutely perfect, I can probably get a 44x. We'll see. Don't know what the future holds. We don't know what strategies will come out, but with the strategies that are currently known, that's the time I was able to get with my execution grinded to something close to as best as I could get. As best as I could do. So, yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you around in the future. Have a good one.